Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the 5-game NBA preseason slate on Friday. I'm so excited, guys. NBA is finally here. Almost here. I'm making this video Wednesday night. Again, the slate is on Friday. If you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports sites. Before we get into the video, I want to thank you guys again for the continued support. It is greatly appreciated. Closing in on 6K subs. If you enjoy all this free content, would really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos when I go live. I will be live streaming for this 5-game slate, and the live stream is going to be super important because there's going to be a ton of news to go over. There's still, a lot of news up in the air. We do have some news we'll go over in this video of guys resting, guys who we know are not going to play. But yeah, very important to check out the live stream Friday before lock. 45 minutes, maybe even an hour before lock, I will be live on my YouTube channel to go over everything. So make sure to check out the video or the live stream on Friday. Also, if you guys cannot watch these videos, I do upload an Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below, which is the DK DFS show. And finally, I want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring the show. Probably should have had up there already. But if you guys are not familiar with Prize Picks, it's a website where you can bet on player props, right? So you either take the over or the under on player projections. So, for example, right, Trae Young is at 27. You can either take the over or the under there. You can pair them with anywhere from 2 to 5 bets and win up to 10x your money. So if you guys are interested in signing up, you can use the code DKDFS. That's DKDFS, all one word. I'll have a link in the description below. You get a 100% match up to $100. It's a win-win. And yeah, it's a fun way. It's a little bit of a different way to play DFS. And you're not playing against anyone, right? You're playing against the house. So if you guys are interested, again, code DKDFS, all one word. I'll have a link in the description below. But all right, guys, that's it. So let's jump into the video. All right, so I had a video uploaded yesterday talking about how to win an NBA DFS. Well, preseason DFS, NBA DFS is a little bit different, right? It's all about news. So Twitter is going to be your best friend for NBA preseason. Very important to follow me on Twitter, guys. I will be breaking all the news I can. Any piece of news I see on Twitter, I will retweet it or give my thoughts on it. So very important to follow me on Twitter. Again, that'll be a link in the description below. But yeah, like I said, Twitter is your best friend. That's where we're going to get all the news. And all right, let's just jump into it. So looking at the Vegas odds, they do not have anything up yet. I looked around a couple different sites as far as like for over-unders and spreads. I assume we'll probably get that in the next day or so. Should have it obviously before the games on Friday. But yeah, no odds right now. A couple things I want to go over for this slate on Friday. We have no Harden. He's already ruled out. He is continuing to test negative, but will be cleared to practice on Monday. So, yeah, obviously he will not be available on Friday. No James Harden, that we know. Not looking like Bagley's going to be playing as well for the Kings. We know he was banged up all last year. And then finally, Nurkic, also not looking like he's going to be available. The Trailblazers might be pretty thin up front. It could look to Cantor, Giles, and we'll get to that more in a sec. So in this video, we're going to give you guys kind of a team-by-team breakdown. So let's start with Orlando. And what I want to do here is we'll just talk about all the players in Orlando. And I want to look back at last year, the first preseason game for each of these teams to kind of see how the coaches played it, right? Because minutes are everything in the preseason. And if we can project some starters, starters on one team to get high 20s minutes and starters on another team to play, in the high teens, then obviously you want to go with the team that, plays minutes into the high 20s in the preseason. So what I want to do is look back again at each of these teams in their first preseason game. Now, sure, things are a little bit different, right? There's not as many preseason games this year, and it's obviously COVID, right? So things can change any minute, really. But yeah, let's take a look at Orlando in their first preseason game last year. So looking at the game log last year, not amazing for the Magic for preseason standards. Like the highest, the player that played the most minutes was 20, and that was Jonathan Isaac. The minutes were very, very evenly distributed, so not amazing. There are some teams that, we'll go over, but really good for like the first preseason game is like minutes into the mid to high 20s. It's like really good. That's when you want to target the main guys. But yeah, so with what am I expecting for, the starters here for Orlando? Well, I would say probably 15 to 20 minutes is a fair guess. So Vucevic, Gordon, those are probably the only guys to look to as far as the starters. Vooch at 8K. I think there's probably better spend ups. And now for preseason 2, don't feel like you have to use all your money. You definitely don't have to. If we get news that a lot of players are resting on one team, and then that opens up more minutes for some cheaper guys, don't feel like you have to use all your salary. Right? Salary is not very important in the preseason. It's all about, again, minutes, projecting minutes. So Vucevic at 8K is someone that I think is in consideration. Again, he can definitely get you there in 15 to 20 minutes, but I think I prefer some other stars on this slate to Vooch. Aaron Gordon's, he was coming off an injury, at the end of the last year, right? We knew he missed some playoff games. Still, a younger guy, but again, not super excited about that. I'm not really looking to Fournier, Ross, or really Markelle Fultz. I think Fultz is viable because he's a guy that can get hot, but again, only expecting probably 15 to 20 minutes. And then, the rookie preseason, we really want to target the young guys, right? The guys that first, second, third year in the league, and that coaches are willing to give some more time to, right? The veterans, the guys that are, have been in the league for a while, usually, at least in the first couple games, they don't play a lot. So really want to be looking to the young guys. So only other guy I think I'd have consideration here for the Magic is Cole Anthony, their rookie. So he's projected to be in the rotation. Again, what do I think minutes-wise for him? Probably 15 to 20. Right? That's a fair guess, I think, for all these Magic guys. So I think you can look to him. But yeah, that's really it for my thoughts on the Magic. No one I'm like super, super excited about. Let's move on to Atlanta. So let's look at Atlanta and their most recent, or their first game of the preseason last year. So first game preseason, looking a little bit better, right? Some of the starters played minutes in the mid-20s. DeAndre Hunter, 25. John Collins, 22. That's not bad. Trae Young, 26. That's pretty good. So yeah, that makes me like the starters for the Hawks a little bit better. So guys I'm looking to, obviously Trae Young. He is one of my favorite spend-ups right now. Again, things can change, and that's why it'll be important to check out the live stream. As I'll keep you guys updated with news. Also follow me on Twitter. But as of this moment, I'm expecting probably around 25 minutes from Trae Young, and that's for a star in the preseason, the first game. That's really good. And just in general, Trae Young is such a high usage guy. We know he's going to shoot the ball a ton when he's out there, and you see that has enormous upside. So at the moment, right now, Trae Young is definitely one of my favorite spend ups of the slate. Really, really do like him. Also have interest in John Collins. Expect low to mid 20s minutes from him as well. Not as high of a usage guy as Trae Young, but still very productive. And again, minutes are everything in the preseason. So Collins, Trae Young are definitely two guys I'm looking to here for the Hawks. Capella at 5'6", coming off the injury. They said he's fully healthy, but I'm a little bit weary of guys, that missed a lot of time last year coming off injuries. Guys like a Capella, guys like a John Wall, a Boogie Cousins that we haven't seen in a while. I don't think they're going to run him out there a ton. So I'm a little bit hesitant with some of those guys. So not as excited about Capella. And then Bogdanovic at 4.8K, I think that looks pretty good. We know, Bogdanovic he got traded to the Hawks, but when he was on the Kings, he was a high usage guy. At times he'd come off the bench, at times he would start, but he could really take over games. So 4.8K, I think that's a fair price. Again, price doesn't matter a ton though on DraftKings. It's all about just jamming in the guys that you think will play the most minutes and have the most upside. So with Bogdanovic, I'm expecting probably around 20-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more. And it'll be interesting to see how they use them, right? Will they bring him off the bench? Will they start him with Trae Young? We'll see. But definitely someone you can look to at that price. And that's really it. Like, Rondo is a good point per minute guy, but I don't think he plays a ton in this game. And I don't really have interest in anyone else. So really for me, for Atlanta, it's Trae Young, it's John Collins, and it's Bogdanovic, the guys that I have interest in for Friday. Let's talk about the Knicks now. So, first we got to go over the fact that they made a coaching change, right? So no longer, or Tom Thibodeau is the new coach. So if we look at the preseason game last year, it was actually really good, like the best, like for some of these Knicks guys, right? The rookie, RJ Barrett played 39 minutes, Randall played 27, Mitchell Robinson played 29, but this is a different coach. It's Tom Thibodeau. Now, Positive, though, Tom Thibodeau, we know, or if you guys have played NBA DFS for a while, Tom Thibodeau is a guy that will run the starters into the ground. Now, what I wanted to do, since we haven't seen Thibodeau since a couple years ago, I wanted to look at his most recent stint with Minnesota, and in their first game, how did the minutes play out? So, go over to Minnesota. This is in 2018, their first preseason game. Not bad, right? Some younger guys like Wiggins started, played 26 minutes. Cat played 24. Tolliver even got up to 31. So some guys played into the mid-20s minutes. That's kind of what I expect here for the Knicks. So let's go back to, and we know the Knicks are a very young roster, so I'm not overly concerned with a lot of these guys with like being restricted. So Julius Randle at 7K is also one of my favorite plays in the slate. Again, I kind of expect around 25 minutes for him, and he is a really, really good point per minute guy. He's a guy that is a very, very high usage player in this offense. And, 25 minutes, at least in the preseason, is really good. That's what I'm projecting at the moment. Again, things can always change, but Randall's definitely someone I'm looking to there at 7K. Really do like him. Also really like Mitchell Robinson. Now, looks like Tom Thibodeau is not as excited about him. When asked about areas Robinson needs to improve, he said professionalism and discipline. So, will he kind of limit Mitchell Robinson? I don't think so. I think Mitchell Robinson still will get good minutes, and he's a young guy, his second or third year in the league here, and he is also a good point per minute guy. He's a guy that can block a lot of shots. Like, he can go out there and get you 4 to 5 block shots in like 25 minutes. I would not be overly surprised about that. So I do like Mitchell Robinson, another guy that is, again, a good point per minute guy. So him, Randall, Alfred Payton, if he starts, I think it looks like a pretty decent option as well. We'll see what they end up doing with the starting lineup, but Alfred Payton is a guy that is a high assist guy. He is a triple-double threat when he gets like minutes into the mid-30s. So if we can expect like 25 minutes from Alfred Payton, I think he's also in consideration here at 6.3K. And then below that, the only other guy I really have interest in is the rookie, Obi Toppin. So again, rookies, young guys, that's where I really want to target for the NBA preseason, because I feel like they're going to want to see what they got from the 8th overall pick. So Toppin is, in college, he was really good at Dayton, right? 20 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, a steal, a block. So he's, I think he'll want to come out and put on a show when he's out there. So definitely have interest in Obi Toppin as well. Again, I probably expect minutes around 20 to 25-ish. And below that, like, no one I'm super excited. I don't think I would go to anyone else, to be honest. Like, you can look to a guy like Nerlens Noel, who will probably play the backup 5. He is a solid point per minute guy. Probably expect like 15 or so minutes from him. Yeah, doable if you need someone super cheap, but not like overly excited about it. And that's really it for me and the Knicks and my interest. So let's move on to Detroit. So Detroit, let's take a look at their first preseason game from last year and how the minutes were distributed. So not great, right? Pretty evenly distributed. The player that played the most was Reggie Jackson at 21. So what do I expect for the starters here for the Pistons? Well, for the veterans, guys like Griffin or D Rose on the bench, I'm not expecting a lot, or maybe not even anything at all. So Blake Griffin played 14 in the first season game. Derrick Rose played 15. That's kind of what I'm expecting for those two veterans. So yeah, I'm not super excited about Rose or Griffin. I think I'm going to look elsewhere. But, a couple other pieces I want to mention here. The rookie, Killian Hayes. So they're projecting him to be the starting point guard. Again, I think he would probably play the most minutes out of anyone in the Pistons. So what I expect for him for minutes-wise, probably low 20s. I think maybe mid-20s if you're lucky. But, obviously we haven't seen a lot from him except for, some videos in practice. But the Pistons seem pretty impressed with this guy. And if he's going to be a starting point guard and play minutes, in the mid-20s, I think you can look to him for value there at 4.4K. Mason Plumlee at 4.5. Well, new gig here with the Pistons. We'll see what they do if he ends up starting alongside a Blake Griffin. But, off the bench for Denver, whenever he played, like, he was a pretty decent point per minute guy. If he starts and gets like 15 to 20 minutes, at least in consideration, again, I'm not like over the moon about it. DeLon Wright coming over from the Mavs kind of had a down year, to be honest. But we've seen a couple years ago in Memphis, like, this guy still possesses some upside, but really, again, how many minutes does he get? I think I would rather take the shot on Killian Hayes for around the same price. And, like Jahlil Okafor, another good point per minute guy, but the Pistons just have a lot of bigs. So I'm not like, and no one played a ton in their first game last year in the first preseason game. So the Pistons as a team is a team I'm not super, super excited about. Like, probably my favorite play would be Killian Hayes. I think you can look to a guy like DeLon Wright, Mason Plumlee, but even Jahlil Okafor. But I just don't expect a ton of minutes for these guys. So that's kind of it for Detroit. Let's move on to Houston. So Houston, I'm a little bit upset with this because Mike D'Antoni I loved in the preseason just because he would play his starters basically like regular minutes. So every single preseason slate, whenever Houston was on it, I always advise for play as many Rockets as you can. Like, people will be like, oh, why are you playing 4 Rockets on an 8-game slate? Well, because starters are going to play into the mid-30s minutes. That's why. So, but yeah, new coach. So we don't really know what to expect here for the starters and the minutes. Last game in the first game, like, again, some of the starters, Harden played 28, right? But Harden, we know, is already out for this game on Friday. And so I think that might make John Wall pretty popular. My concern is, are they going to give him minutes, 20 to 25 minutes? I'm not fully convinced of that, coming off a major injury. So Wall is someone that we'll keep an eye on. If we get news that he's, only going to play the first quarter, or only going to play the first half, then obviously you don't want to go there. But, if there is news that he's going to play, we'll give him mid-20s minutes, then yeah, John Wall is a guy I really like. So got to monitor this, but right now, again, I'm a little bit weary with him coming off the big injury. Kind of the same thing with Boogie Cousins. Now, Boogie Cousins is cheaper. Again, though, price doesn't matter a ton in the slate, to be honest. But another guy coming off a major injury. But Boogie Cousins, we know, is a really, really good point per minute guy. So another situation we'll kind of monitor. If we get news that, he might get 20 or so minutes. If I knew DeMarcus Cousins when he was going to get close to 20 minutes, he would be one of my favorite plays. Just because, again, he's such a high usage guy when he's out there. Now, Christian Wood at 7'5" is someone I'm not as concerned about with the minutes. A younger guy, right? Only like his third year in the league. So Wood is definitely one of my favorite plays in the slate. For the Pistons, he had a breakout year last year. Another guy that is a really, really good point per minute guy. And yeah, with no Harden, right? That's a lot of usage to go around. If John Wall, Boogie Cousins are not going to play a ton, I feel like Christian Wood is the guy that will probably get extended the most. So right now, he is one of my favorite spend ups of the slate there at 7.5K. Really, really do like Christian Wood. Other options on Houston, Danuel House, again, kind of scoring dependent, not super excited there. I'm not going to go to PJ Tucker in the preseason. Eric Gordon's in consideration just because he's going to shoot the ball a ton, but what you get with Eric Gordon is a pretty low floor, right? He is scoring dependent, so we'll see. He's also not really a super young guy anymore. He's getting up there in age, so yeah, what do I expect minutes-wise from Gordon? Probably 15 to 20. He can get hot, right, but he does have a pretty low floor because if he's not scoring the ball, he's probably not going to get you a ton of fancy points. And last guy I'll mention here is Chris Clemens. So if the Rockets end up resting guys, if John Wall doesn't play or is going to be very limited, Chris Clemens is a guy that possesses upside, right? In the preseason last year, he's a guy that, if they rested starters, Clemens is a guy that is a pretty good point per minute guy. Like we've seen it in games, in the regular season, right? 17 minutes, 14 fancy points, 16 minutes, 23 fancy points. So if they do end up resting guys, then you can look to a guy, Chris Clemens, a sneaky value play that I don't think a lot of people get to. But other than that, like I don't think I get to anyone else on the Rockets, or at least consider anyone. So, all right, let's move on to Chicago. So Chicago in their first game last year, let's take a look at the starters' minutes. It was guys, high teens to mid 20s. Well, again, the Bulls made a coaching change. So what I want to do is let's go up to the Bulls, right? So they hired Billy Donovan, former coach of the OKC Thunder. So what I did was I actually looked at OKC Thunder's 2019 preseason box score in their first game, just to kind of get an idea of what I expect for the Bulls in this game, right? Because Billy Donovan, again, coached the Thunder last year. So starters for the Thunder last year, younger guys played minutes in the mid-20s, right? So SGA played 26, Schroeder 22, Hamidou Diallo played 24, whereas the veterans like Gallinari, Chris Paul played less, like 17 or so minutes. So that's kind of a good idea, right? Younger guys expect around mid-20s minutes, veterans a little bit less, but the Bulls are a team that is, are pretty young. So Kobe White, Zach LaVine are two guys I'm looking to for sure. Kobe White's at 6'9", Zach LaVine's at 7'8". I think probably Kobe White plays a little bit more just because he's going into a second year. But both guys, it's tough. You're going to make me pick between them. Both have upside. Levine's probably the better shooter, but I probably expect a couple more minutes here for Kobe White. So it's going to be a close one if you're going to make me pick. I think you could play both if you want to with Levine and Kobe White, but yeah, two guys I'm for sure looking to there at the top for the Bulls. Lauri Markkanen, not as excited about him. Reason being is he's kind of scoring dependent as a big, not a great rebounder, and again, if his shot's not falling, does have a kind of low floor. So I'm not super excited about Lauri Markkanen. Now, Wendell Carter Jr. at 4.7 is someone I have a little bit more interest in. He's a guy that, again, young, second or third year in the league, right? And I expect probably around mid-20s minutes. He's a decent point per minute guy. And Christian Wood, not a great defender. Boogie Cousins, not a great defender if they're out there. So, Wendell Carter Jr. is someone I'm looking to there, 4.7. I think he's a pretty solid value play. Otto Porter, again, coming off a major injury. I'm going to pump the brakes there. Other options for Chicago, well, the rookie Patrick Williams, they select him with the 4th overall pick. So, obviously, they saw something with this guy. I feel like they're going to want to give him decent minutes. Again, I expect probably around 20 or so minutes from him. You can give a look to him for value if you need someone cheap. And that really wraps it up for me for the Bulls. So let's move on to the Clippers. Clippers in their first game last year, well, they rested some starters. Or, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard did not play. We'll see what they do this year. Again, new coach, obviously no more Doc Rivers. But, yeah, so with the Clippers, again, Kawhi was a guy that was rested a lot last year. Paul George got rested a bit too. So we'll see. We'll monitor the situation. If we get news that they'll play minutes, normal minutes in the preseason, like minutes like 20 to 25, then I have more interest. But again, I'm a little bit hesitant with guys like Kawhi, guys like Paul George. Ibaka's another veteran, right? How many minutes do I expect from him at 6'1"? Probably around 15 or so would be a fair guess. Now, a guy like Ivica Zubac probably looks a little bit better. Again, a younger guy, his 3rd or 4th year in the league. Like, I think I'd rather take a shot on him, and if he plays like 20 or so minutes, right? He's a guy that is a pretty good point per minute guy. And if there's like no Kawhi Leonard, no Paul George, those are like two very high usage guys off the court. Then like Zubac, the offense would run through him a decent amount. So yeah, this will be a wait and see approach with the Clippers. We'll see if they do end up resting some guys or not. But yeah, like Lou Williams, veteran, don't expect him to play a ton, even though he's a good point per minute guy. A couple younger guys, a guy like Luke Kennard from the Pistons, like he's a good shooter. I think he's in consideration. Terrence Mann, if they do end up resting people, he's a guy that has put up some huge games in the preseason. Even in, in the last game, I think, of the bubble, or the first game, or the last game of the regs, I forget. He had a huge game when the Clippers literally rested like everyone. I think it was the last game in the bubble, I want to say. But yeah, Mann's a guy that if they do end up resting some starters, like he would be kind of an alpha in this offense. He's a good point per minute guy. He fills up the stat sheet, and I don't think a ton of people play him. So again, wait and see approach here for the Clippers. But if they do end up resting some guys, like Terrence Mann would be someone I would look to for sure there as a cheaper option. And that really wraps up for the Clippers. So let's move on to the Lakers. Lakers in their first preseason game last year, well, starters, at least Anthony Davis, LeBron, like those are the guys we really want to look to. They played 18 minutes, so that's kind of what I expect here. Even if they play, I think there's a decent chance maybe they don't even play. So, or LeBron unlikely to play, right? So, and Anthony Davis, let's see what they got the news on him. Likely to sit out Friday's preseason opener as well. Okay, so with LeBron, AD most likely out, who are guys I'm looking to for the Lakers that really going to take over? Well, Dennis Schroeder. I think he'll kind of be the alpha in this offense. He was the 6th man last year for the Thunder, but he's a guy that's not afraid to shoot the ball, right? And he's very aggressive, and he can get hot. He's a guy that can fill up a stat sheet as well. So Schroeder's a guy with most likely LeBron and AD resting. That is definitely someone I'm looking to. Marc Gasol, again, I don't really want to play like Grandpa Gasol. What is he, 37 years old? He's obviously been dealing with injuries. There's no way I'm playing Marc Gasol. Now, Montrezl Harrell, on the other hand, is someone I think is in consideration because, again, younger guy, Lakers, obviously missing a couple pieces with LeBron, with AD. I think they're going to want to see what they have out of Montrezl Harrell with his first year in the Lakers. And, he's very aggressive, a great offensive rebounder. So I do kind of like the pairing here with Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell for the Lakers and it's looking like LeBron and AD do end up resting. Other guys in this offense that I think are in consideration. Well, Kyle Kuzma. He's a guy that can get hot, right? Also someone that's not afraid to shoot the ball. So yeah, I do like Kuzma as well there at 4-4. Deion Waiters is the guy that will jack the ball whenever he's out there. Alex Caruso has shown some upside. He's a guy that can fill up the stat sheet. So there is some options here for the Lakers, right? So probably a guy like Caruso, Kuzma, Montrez, Schroeder. Those are guys I'm looking to for the Lakers. And again, looking like LeBron, AD are not going to play. Last game here, Kings and Trailblazers. So let's take a look at the Kings in their first preseason game last year. So it actually went to overtime. So probably subtract 5 minutes from these starters, but actually really, really good minutes. The best out of the slate for these starters. 34 for Harrison Barnes, 30 for Bagley, 33 for De'Aaron Fox, 32 for Buddy Hield. They ran a pretty tight rotation, like the bench guys, Ariza, Bogdanovich, minutes into close to the 30. So the Kings as a team are the team that I am projecting the most minutes for. So, yeah, De'Aaron Fox at 8.3K is one of my favorite plays of the slate. Again, I kind of expect high 20s minutes, and right now that looks to be the best on the slate if we're just going off last year's minutes. So, and they just signed him to a 5-year deal as well. Again, he's still a younger guy too, so I'm not overly concerned with them kind of limiting his minutes. He's a guy that's going to want to push the pace. Again, a very high usage guy as well. So I really, really like De'Aaron Fox. Also, the matchup's pretty good, right? Lillard, CJ, even though they're not going to play a ton, not great defender. So really do like De'Aaron Fox. I think Buddy Hield's definitely in play too. At times can be a little bit score independent, but yeah, he is a guy that can get hot as well. Now, Bagley, again, not looking like he's going to play. Whiteside's dealing with a calf injury, so we'll see. If Whiteside misses, and again, not looking like Bagley's going to play, the Kings would be pretty thin up front. So, a guy like Rashawn Holmes at 4.1K, I think would stand in, start, and probably play 25 or so minutes. And right now, again, he is someone I'm really liking for a value option, especially if Whiteside's out. If Whiteside and Bagley are both out, again, they're pretty thin up front. So Holmes would be one of my favorite value plays. If Whiteside does end up playing, we'll see, right? Obviously, dealing with the calf injury, I don't think he'll play a ton. Harrison Barnes, he could play 15 minutes. I would not have any interest in him. He's just a stand in the corner. He does nothing. I'm not looking to Harrison Barnes at all. Now, Halliburton, the rookie, I think does get some good run. We'll see. But again, I expect him to come off the bench, probably minutes 20, 25 or so. So I think you can give a look to him. Obviously, I feel a little bit more comfortable with guys we were on the team last year, guys like Fox, guys like Holmes, guys like Buddy Hield. But Halliburton definitely viable here. And then below that, you can look to a guy, Jabari Parker. He's a terrible defender, but he's good, a really good offensive player. And, he's also a really good point per minute guy with the Kings possibly being pretty thin up front. You could see maybe 15 to 20 minutes out of Jabari Parker, and I don't think a ton of people play him. So that's kind of my interest there for the Kings. Finally, the Trailblazers. So let's take a look at the Trailblazers in the game in the first preseason game last year. So starters, or at least the main guys, did not play a ton. Whiteside, 12 minutes. Lillard, 15. CJ, 15. The guy that played the most is Anthony Simons at 21. Or Zach Collins actually played 24, but he is out as well. So let's go to the Trailblazers. So Lillard, CJ, again, if we're going off the last preseason game last year, only played 15 minutes. Again, things can change, but right now, not a ton of interest in either of them. Nurkic, again, we went over that. It's not looking like he's going to play. Veterans like Covington, like Melo, I don't think get a ton of run, so not really as excited about them. Again, Zach Collins out. So with the Trailblazers kind of being thin up front, right? No Nurkic, no Zach Collins. A couple of value guys I like here: Enes Kanter, Harry Giles. Kanter is, on Boston last year, it was so frustrating with Brad Stevens because there was games where he would just get DNPs and then games out of nowhere he would play like 15 minutes and just crush. Kanter, whenever you can project him for decent minutes, he's a really, really good point per minute guy. So if we can expect like close to 20 minutes from Enes Kanter, he is one of my favorite plays in the slate. Again, great offensive player, not a great defender, but that doesn't matter for DFS. So Kanter is definitely someone to look into. Also, Harry Giles, revenge game narrative against his former team. Also, when he was on the court, a good point per minute guy. Again, aggressive. He's a guy that can fill up a stat sheet, get some blocks, steals. So both Giles and Enes Kanter are guys I'm looking to for the Trailblazers. Probably my two favorite plays in the Trailblazers. Also, I think you can consider a guy like Anthony Simons, right? Probably expect around 20 minutes from him. He's a guy that, can put the ball in the bucket. So that's kind of where my interest lies here for the Trailblazers. But yeah, that's really going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you know when I go live. Again, I'll tweet it out, but probably 45 minutes to an hour before lock on Friday, I will be live going over everything. Also, guys, very important to follow me on Twitter. That is in the description below. Thanks again. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm so excited for NBA, and I will see you guys in the live stream on Friday.